What would you say if a cop walked up to your window right now and got you talking before you even knew why you were stopped? Because the faster you talk, the faster you give away facts, consent, and little clues they can use against you. One nervous sentence can turn a simple stop into a search, a ticket, or handcuffs. Hit subscribe right now because what you're about to hear could save you from talking yourself into a case, like this video too, so you can find it fast when a real stop happens and your brain goes blank. Most people have no idea that a traffic stop is not really about the first question. It's about the pace. If they can get you talking fast, they can get you agreeing fast. They can get you guessing fast. They can get you admitting things you never had to say. Let me show you exactly what's coming. First, the one sentence that stops you from filling the silence with dumb answers. Second, the exact line that blocks consent searches before they begin. Third, the question that tells you whether the stop is still legal or they're just fishing now. And fourth, what to say if they order you out of the car so you don't panic and ruin everything. You need this because your mouth is usually the first thing that helps them, not your car, not your phone, not your trunk. Your words do that job for them. Here's the reality. Cops are trained to watch how you talk, not just what you say. They listen for speed, tone, changes, and extra details. You think you're being polite. You think you're making it easier, but you're often giving them more than they had before they reached your window. You tell them where you're coming from. You tell them you're in a rush. You tell them you had one beer. You tell them your cousin borrowed the car. You tell them you don't mind if they take a quick look. Now the stop is bigger than the tail light or the rolling stop or the license plate light. Listen closely because this is critical. Your goal is not to win a debate. Your goal is to give the required basics, stay calm, and stop building a case with your own mouth. The first thing you do is slow the whole stop down and stop answering extra questions. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos and the same mistake shows up again and again. The officer says, "Where are you headed tonight?" And the driver starts performing. "Just coming from my boy's house. We were watching the game. I had one drink, but that was hours ago. I'm not drunk. I live like 10 minutes away." That driver thinks he sounds normal. He actually sounds scared, chatty, and easy to push. Here's exactly what you say. "Officer, I'll provide my license, registration, and insurance. I don't want to answer questions." Word for word. Memorize that line. You are not being rude. You are being controlled. You're giving the documents you must give, and you are refusing the part that hurts you. This is 100% legal. During a normal roadside stop, officers can ask questions, but you do not have to turn your car window into a confession booth. That matters because of a case called Berkemer v. McCarty. In plain English, the Supreme Court said normal traffic stop questions happen before Miranda warnings usually kick in. That means your words can still be used, even though nobody read you your rights yet. So if you wait for some movie-style warning before you shut up, you're already late. Bad way. Most drivers say, "I'm just trying to get home, I only had one beer, and this isn't even my car." Then the officer hears possible drinking, possible borrowed car issues, and a nervous story that keeps growing. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Officer, I'll provide my license, registration, and insurance. I don't want to answer questions." Then the officer gets less material, less momentum, and fewer openings to expand the stop. Former police officers have confirmed this works because it changes the whole rhythm. Now the officer has to do the actual mission of the stop instead of taking a free tour through your life. You stop volunteering. You stop guessing. You stop trying to sound innocent. Innocent people talk too much all the time, and that can still hurt you. Let me show you exactly why pace matters so much. Fast talk leads to sloppy talk. Sloppy talk leads to contradictions. Contradictions lead to "step out of the car for me." It happens that fast. One answer becomes three answers. Three answers become suspicion. Suspicion becomes more delay, and more delay gives them more time to look, ask, sniff, and probe. When you slow down and keep your answers tight, you protect your rights and you protect your future. You don't have to be cold. You don't have to act tough. You just stop making their job easier. Think you could stay this calm during a real stop? Let me know in the comments, because this next line is where most drivers lose everything. Now let's talk about the sentence that can save your whole car. If an officer asks, "You mind if I take a look?" Your answer has to be clean and instant. No jokes, no maybe, no fake politeness. Here's exactly what you say. "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Word for word. That line is gold. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it leaves almost no wiggle room. It is clear, it is calm, it is direct, and it protects you later if the stop turns ugly. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. A lot of searches don't happen because cops had a warrant. They happen because drivers say yes without realizing what that yes really means. If you consent to a search, you're opening the door way wider than you think. A Supreme Court case called Florida v. Jimeno makes that crystal clear. In plain English, the court said, if you say yes to a car search, that can include containers inside the car if those containers could hold what the officer says they're looking for. So your little, sure, go ahead, is not some tiny favor. It can become access to bags, boxes, and places you never meant to offer up. Bad way. Most drivers say, yeah, I guess that's fine. I've got nothing to hide. Then the officer has consent, the search gets broader, and your own words helped authorize it. Good way. Smart drivers say, officer, I do not consent to any searches. Then you preserve your position, force the officer to rely on actual legal grounds, and keep your rights intact. And no, refusing consent does not automatically make you guilty. People get tricked by that fear all the time. You think saying no makes you look suspicious. But saying yes guarantees you gave something away. Saying no keeps the burden where it belongs, on them. That matters because if they search anyway, your clear refusal can matter later. It can help your lawyer challenge what happened. It can show you did not open that door yourself. Watch what happens when a driver says this calmly. The stop often gets awkward for a second. Good. That awkward second is not danger. That awkward second is protection. It means the officer did not get the easy shortcut. And your goal during a stop is to remove shortcuts. You don't fight, you don't argue, you don't consent. You just state your boundary and stop talking. A lot of drivers mess this up by adding extra words. They say, why, what do you think I have? Or, you can search, but there's nothing in there. That is the exact wrong energy. You're not trying to convince the officer you're clean. You're trying to stop waving your rights with your own mouth. Keep it short. Keep it steady. Keep it repeatable. The third move is the question that tells you whether the stop is actually over. Once the officer has your documents back, or once the ticket or warning is handled, you need to know if you're still legally detained or if they're just trying to keep you there talking. Here's exactly what you say. Officer, am I free to leave? Those exact 6 words. Burn them into your brain. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. A case called Rodriguez versus United States says officers cannot drag out a traffic stop longer than needed. They cannot fish for more evidence unless they have real reasonable suspicion. In plain English, once the job of the stop is done, they do not get extra free time to play detective just because they feel like it. Another case, Ohio versus Robinette, says officers do not have to tell you that you're free to go before asking for consent. That means you have to ask. If you don't ask, you may just stand there helping them keep the conversation alive. Bad way. Most drivers say, sure, what else do you need? Then the stop stretches, more questions come, and the officer gets extra time to look for a reason to escalate. Good way. Smart drivers say, officer, am I free to leave? Then the officer has to either let you go or make it clear you're still being detained for a real reason. Here's the reality. A lot of bad stops stay alive because drivers never mark the moment when the original reason should have ended. They keep chatting. They laugh nervously. They answer one more question, then one more. Then they consent to just a quick look. That is how a finished stop gets reborn as an investigation. Watch what happens when you ask this at the right moment. If the officer says yes, you leave, quietly. If the officer says no, now the lines are clear. You know you're still detained. You know this is no longer casual conversation, and you know every extra word from you has more risk than value. That one question forces clarity, and clarity is power. Also, notice how these tactics work together. First, you stop volunteering. Second, you refuse consent. Third, you ask if you're free to leave. Each step shrinks the space where your mouth can hurt you. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection. This applies during those first few minutes when your nerves are high and your brain wants to start explaining everything. Most people already clicked away. If you're still here, you're the one who will actually remember this under pressure. Drop a comment saying I'm still here, because the next move is what saves you when the officer tells you to step out. Now, let's cover the moment that scares people most. When the officer says, step out of the car. Your heart jumps, your hands get weird, and your brain wants to either argue or babble. Do neither. Here's exactly what you say. I will step out and comply. I do not consent to searches, and I choose to remain silent. Word for word. That line keeps you safe and keeps your boundary alive. This is 100% legal. A Supreme Court case called Pennsylvania versus Mimms says an officer can order a driver out during a lawful traffic stop. So don't fight that part. Just comply. But complying with the exit order does not mean you agreed to questioning or searching. Those are different things. That difference matters. In some places, you may also have to identify yourself if state law requires it. That comes from a case called Hebel. In plain English, if the law in your state says you must give your name during a lawful detention, you may have to do that. But giving your name is not the same as giving your whole story. Your name is one thing. Your weekend, your passengers, your travel plans, and what might be in the trunk are something else. Bad way. Most drivers say, why are you doing this? I didn't do anything. There's nothing illegal. Please don't search my car. Then panic takes over. The officer hears fear, and you start spilling way more than you should. Good way. Smart drivers say, I will step out and comply. I do not consent to searches, and I choose to remain silent. Then you follow the order, lower the tension, and protect your position at the same time. That is the sweet spot. You do not resist. You do not argue law on the roadside. You do not try to win with attitude. You comply with lawful commands, and you shut the door on extra consent and extra statements. That is how you stop a stop from turning into a disaster. Let me show you exactly how the law fits all of this together. Berkemer tells you why your roadside words matter so much. The court basically said normal traffic stop questions are usually not the same as a full arrest interrogation. So officers can ask, and your answers can still hurt you, even before any warning is read. That's why staying quiet matters. Jimeno tells you why one tiny yes can become a huge mistake. The court said when you consent to a car search, that can include containers inside your car. So your quick go ahead can open way more than your door. Rodriguez tells you time matters. The court said officers cannot keep stretching the stop past its real purpose just to go hunting for more evidence unless they have actual reasonable suspicion. So when you ask, am I free to leave? You're not being difficult. You're checking whether the stop still has a legal reason. And Mimms tells you something important too. If the officer orders you out, you get out. You do not turn that into a physical problem. You comply with the order, but you keep your verbal boundaries. That is why these tactics work together so well. You're not trying to beat the system with magic words. You are using simple lines that fit what the court's already said. Now picture your real life. You're driving home at night. Your music is low. Your stomach drops when you see lights behind you. The officer walks up and asks, where are you coming from? Had anything to drink? This your car? You mind if I look inside? This is where most people blow it. The wrong way looks like this. You start fast. I'm coming from my friend's place. I had one beer, but that was forever ago. This is my cousin's car, but I use it all the time. I mean, yeah, I guess you can look. I've got nothing to hide. Now you have given travel details, possible drinking, ownership questions, and consent. The stop just got bigger because your mouth made it bigger. The officer now has more angles, more suspicion, and more permission. The right way looks completely different. You roll the window down enough to communicate. You keep your hands visible. You say, officer, I'll provide my license, registration, and insurance. I don't want to answer questions. You hand over what you need to hand over. If the officer asks to search, you say, officer, I do not consent to any searches. If the officer keeps talking after the ticket or warning is done, you say, officer, am I free to leave? If the officer tells you to step out, you say, I will step out and comply. I do not consent to searches, and I choose to remain silent. See the difference? In the wrong version, you are trying to sound innocent. In the right version, you're being protected. In the wrong version, your words keep feeding the stop. In the right version, your words keep narrowing it. You're calm. You're polite. You're not helping them build more than they already had. That is the whole game. Next video, I'm revealing what to say when cops claim they smell weed. Subscribe right now because that line gets people pulled from their cars every single day, and the exact response matters more than you think. So lock this in before you forget it. First, you give the required basics and stop answering extra questions. Second, you never consent to a search because one quick yes can open your whole car. Third, you ask if you're free to leave once the real job of the stop is done. Fourth, if you're ordered out, you comply physically, but keep your mouth under control. Your power during a stop is not sounding clever. Your power is staying calm, saying less, and refusing to donate evidence with your own voice. Hit subscribe so you catch that weed smell video next. Smash like if this script just changed how you'll handle your next stop. And drop a comment telling me which exact line you're going to memorize first. Stay safe out there.